Hi, I'm Johnny and you're watching the Hexy Beast, and I'm coming back after my summer break to talk to you about this game right here, Isle of Trains All Aboard, which is live now on Kickstarter. I will say that I was provided a preview copy. Anyway, let's just get to the table and see how it plays, shall we? So, I love trains, and this is an engine building game, no pun intended, all about them. So anyway, let's just get on with some setup and see how the game plays, shall we? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the map using these 6 cards, and we're also going to place their place names next to it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take all these passenger gold cards, shuffle them up a bit, and then we're going to place one in each of the different areas of the island. Just like this. Then I'm going to take these tokens of varying values and set them to one side for use during the game. Then I'm going to take these various coloured meeples and place them in this bag and give it a good shake. And then I'm going to pick 2 of them out, and they're going to be the ones we start with throughout the game. And that's one of the new things with this version of the game, is that there are now passengers to deliver. So let's just get on and set up our player. Okay, so then I'm going to grab a level 1 engine card, and I'm going to put that right in front of me. So this is going to be the start of our train. As well as that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle up all these cards, and I'm going to deal 3 at the top, which are going to be our market as we play through. So let's just get on with that. Okay, so with that done, all I'm going to do now is remind you that we don't actually need this progress track throughout the game when we're playing solo. So I'm just going to put that back in the box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 5 cards off here, and that'll be my hand. Then we're going to go into how the game plays. Okay, so Isle of Trains is played in 2 phases, and basically in the player phase we're going to have 2 actions, which is basically how we play cards and do other various things. I'll explain them as we go. And then in the night phase, what's going to happen is that the automa is going to draw a card from that deck, and it's going to discard it, and then we're going to have to discard our hand down to 5 cards before we can continue with the day phase. So anyway, let's just have a look at some cards before we get on with the day phase. So the way cards work in this is, as you can see, we have an icon here, which is basically their VP, which is what they're worth when they played in our engine. We have a cost here, which, as you can see, this one would cost me 6, and whenever we pay a cost in this game, the way it works is that we would discard that many cards in order to put this in our tableau. You may also notice that there is a weight to each card, which is outlined on your engine card, which I'll go over in a minute. And there's also these actions up here. So basically this means that this particular boxcar can hold 2 cargo, and when we load cargo into it, which is another action, we'll get to draw 4 cards and take a free load action. Normally in the multiplayer you would only get this bonus by activating your opponent, but in the solo mode you activate it every time you load, unless that load was a bonus load. So anyway, let's just get on with our first action and see what happens. Okay, so let's take a little look at our level 1 train card that we got at the start of the game. So as you can see, first of all, it has a weight limit of 4. So that means that if we were to attach certain things to it, for example this, we would use up 3 of our weight allowance. We also have resources along the side here, which is used if we were to draw another one of these now, we would load the card. As you can see, because it's a level 1 train, we have a 0 cost, and this one by itself would be worth 0 points. So it's not actually worth much by itself, but it's a good place to get started. So anyway, let's just get on with our first action. Okay, so looking at my hand right now and looking at what's available in the offer up here, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my first action as a take action, which will allow me to either draw a card from the deck or take one from the offer. So let's do that now. And I think the one I'm going to take is actually going to be this level 2 coach, which will allow me to store up to 2 meeples in it, and when I use it I will get to draw 3 cards and get 2 victory points, which is nice. As you can see, it also only has a weight of 1, so that's a good thing as well. That means it won't take a lot of my weight limit, but I am thinking about upgrading that engine pretty soon if I can find the cards. So I'm going to take this into my hand, and then at the end of my turn I'm going to replace it up in the top. Okay, so looking at what's in my hand for my second action this turn, I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to play this level 2 coach, and as you can see its cost is 4, so that means I'm going to have to discard 4 cards to do it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this by here as a build action. That's the second type of action we've seen so far, and I'm going to discard, I'm not going to be able to get these 2 and look at these costs, so that's 3, and then I'm going to also get rid of that one as well. Okay, so I'm going to discard these four in order to play this engine, well, this coach, should I say, by here. That leaves me with one card in my hand. So let's do that now. I'm going to play them into the discard pile. And that brings me to the end of my turn, so I'm going to refill this offer. And oh look, it's a level 1 engine. Not like we haven't already got one of those. So let's get on with the night phase. Okay, so one of the things I really like about this game so far is just how easy it is to operate the automa. So in the night phase, all you have to do is just discard one card from the top and make sure that your hand is no bigger than 5 cards, and right now it's 1. So that's the night phase dealt with. Let's get back onto our turn where we get another 2 actions and draw a card. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do this turn is draw a card. Let's see what we got. We have another... Ooh, this is actually quite good. Let's have a look what we got. We got a box car, another one, but it's a level 1 and we just played the level 2 coach. But this is good in that it can hold cargo, and it's also quite cheap. I might keep this in hand. And I think I have an idea of how I'm going to get more cards to play it. So for my first action, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a load action, which normally, if it was a different kind of coach in my engine, a different kind of carriage, I would be able to load certain resources in by putting the card under sideways. But in this case, for my load action, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to choose to load one of these meeples onto my level 2 coach. So let's do that now. One thing I didn't notice while I was playing that last turn is that when I built this, I actually got 2 meeples because of this little icon in the corner. So let's do that before we actually take that first action, shall we? So I'm going to dig into the bag, give it a shake, and the 2 I've pulled out is an orange and a purple. Cool. Okay, so for my first action this turn, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to load one of these meeples into this coach. And if we take a look, what will happen when I do is that, number 1, I can hold up 2 meeples. But first, what I'm going to do, when I load it, I'm going to draw 3 cards and gain 2 VPs, which will then allow me to do various other things, and it'll also help me do the deliver action where I can drop off passengers and gain some of those bonuses off the tiles around the board. So that's what I'm going to do now for my first action. I'm going to load the purple guy into this, and then I'm going to draw 3 cards and gain 2 VP. Okay, so that's 3 cards into my hand. 1, 2, 3, and 2 of these little blue VP tokens, which I'm going to put next to my train. Okay, so for my second action, looking at what's in my hand, I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to build this level 1 box car, which will allow me to hold 1 cargo, which means it's going to be a little cheaper if I upgrade later as well, so that I can maybe take out this primary contract over here. So in order to do that, it's going to cost me 3 discards, so I'm going to play that there for my second action. I'm going to discard this 3 hopper and this level 2 tanker, as well as another level 1 box car. In order to play that, you may also notice that this also takes up 2 weight on the train, so now we've only actually got 1 weight left, so we might need to start thinking about upgrading that engine. Okay, so with that done, we're just going to get on with the night phase, which is where I'm going to discard a card, and then we're going to make sure that we don't have 5 cards in our hand, which we don't, we only have 1, so that's a good thing. Anyway, back onto our turn. Okay, so for my first action this turn, I'm going to take the load action, which will put this in there, drawing me another 3 cards, so that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so while I was drawing those 3 cards, I noticed I had a building, and these are a little different in that when you play them, you actually get a bonus in your engine, plus every time we deliver a meeple to one of these 2 towns, we're going to get another point. But I don't think we're going to be playing that this turn. I just want to let you know that there are buildings, and you can only have 1 building out at a time. Okay, so at first I was thinking about loading this one into my level 1 box car and just taking the 1 crate from it. But then I realised that if I was to deliver one of my meeples here, I would get 2 cards and I would get a load action. The problem is that these are bonus load actions, but the good thing is I do actually have 2 meeples, so I would get 2 bonus load actions when I do it. So let's go make a delivery and drop off both of those meeples now. So for my second action, I'm going to deliver these 2 meeples to Cactus Mines. So this is basically going to allow me to get 2 cards and 1 load action, and 1 card and 1 load action. So let's just get 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. So now for my 3 cards, for my first load action, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to load this building card onto my level 1 box car by here. This now means it has a cargo of 1. It can only hold 1, so we're going to have to upgrade that before we can do anything else. And then for my second load action, seeing as we can't actually load anything from our hand right now, I'm going to load this orange meeple into my level 2 coach, which is also going to get me 3 cards and 2 VP. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 2 VPs, which I'm going to place down with the rest of them I've got so far. Also worth pointing out, if I wanted to slow down the enemy or just get a card that it discarded, I could spend 3 of these VPs at any time in order to put one of the cards from the discard on top of that deck. So anyway, that's both our actions this turn. Let's get on to the night phase. Okay, so the night phase is the same as before. We discard a card, but this time we definitely have more than 5 cards in our hand. In fact, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. So I'm going to have to discard 4. So I wonder which ones I should discard. Choices. So we have a building which is an oil refinery, which is good for us, but I'm not sure I want it. I actually need that level 2 engine. So the 5 we're going to keep are definitely going to be this level 2 engine. We're also going to try and keep this level 2... Have we got a hopper? Yeah, we have. We've got a level 2 hopper. If we can get that on, we might actually be able to complete one of our primary contacts. So we'll keep that one. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then we're just going to keep whatever's cheap. 4, 5. There we go. And that is now going to get discarded because it's the night phase and we can't keep it. So that's all in there. And then my hand moving into my next day phase is going to be these that I just took out of them. So now that that's done, let's move on to our next turn. Okay, so now that I've drawn a card, let's get on with what I'm going to do this turn. Okay, I think what I'm going to actually do is I'm actually going to upgrade my engine to a level 2 engine. This has a cost of 3, and basically whenever we upgrade something, we use the difference between the cost of the thing we're upgrading and what we're upgrading to, and in this case it's 3. So that would mean I would have to discard 3 cards. So let's do that now. Let's have a look what we've got. We've got a level 1 hopper, we don't want that. We don't want a tanker. So that's 1, 2, and for our third one, we're going to get rid of this Caboose 4. So now, I'm going to play this by discarding this one. And I'm going to put that there, discard those 3 cards that I just singled out. And that's going to be built. So now we've got a better engine with a 6 weight capacity, which is nice. Which means we can actually build more trains. Also, this one is worth 2 points. And if we take a passenger in there, which we're going to get 1 free one now because we just upgraded, we're going to get 2 cards on the draw. So let's get my passenger. Okay, so let's see what passenger we draw this time. And this time we have one of my personal favourites, the orange, because we've already got one of them in our train. So I'm just going to place that down, ready to be loaded over there. Okay, now for my second action this turn, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to actually use a load action to put this guy into my level 2 coach. That's getting me another 3 cards and another 2 VPs. This is actually looking pretty good for me, eh? So now there's our hand, another 2 VPs, and then we're just going to go on to the night phase again. So back to the night phase, discard a card, and check our hand size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have no problems. Okay, on to the next day phase. Okay, so we're back on the day phase, and I've drawn my card, and this time I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play this level 2 hopper, which will allow me to basically get some more points for one, as well as being able to load 2 core and take out one of these primary contracts in a later delivery. So I think what I'm going to do is build that for this one. Okay, so I'm just going to check my weight limit and I'll be fine because I got 6 and I'm using up 3, so we can play that, and it's going to cost me 4 cards in order to actually do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're discarded. So that was my first action. Okay, for my second action this turn, I'm just going to drop off these 2 passengers at Camp Eagle. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take them and put them there. So I get 5 cards for that one and 4 cards for that one. That was a pretty big one. So that was actually a 9 card draw, which gives me plenty of options, but bear in mind that this is actually my second action and I'm going to lose most of these come next night phase. But what it does do is allow me to choose to keep some cards. The other problem I've got is that when that deck runs out, that is the end of the game. So whatever points I have at that point is what I get. And we're trying to beat 70 points to get the top tier with the scoring system. So by going through this deck very quickly is actually not very useful at this point in the game. But let's see what we got, shall we? Okay, so I've chosen to keep these 5 and I'm going to discard the rest. Also discard one for the night phase. Now it's back to our turn. Okay, so the first action I think I'm actually going to take this turn is it's going to be a load action, which is going to allow me to load one of these into this car here. which as we can see by here will give me 2 cards and a build action. So let's do that now. So I guess my 2 cards. And the thing is about doing this, I have to be able to complete that build action to do it. And I think the build action I'm actually going to take for the second one is I'm going to try and build this level 3 engine, which means I'm going to have to discard 6 cards. So let's see if we can do it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I forgot to draw one at the start of the turn. So that brings us up to, yeah, we can play that. Okay. So we're just going to replace our second engine. This gives us increased weight limit and a much better power when we load a passenger here. It's also worth double the points of the level 2 engine that we've currently got equipped. So I'm going to discard all these for my second action in order to build this level 3 engine by here. So let's do that now. Everything is now discarded. And that was my second action, which brings us back on to the night phase. Also, let's not forget when we built this engine last turn, we also gained a meeple. And that's night phase, and we have no cards in our hand right now. So back on to the day phase. Now to draw my 1 card. And I also think, actually, now looking at this, that I'm going to take, for my first action is going to be a load action, which I'm going to put into this here, which means I now have 2 coal in there. That'll also get me 2 card draws, which I'll get now. And a free build action, which I cannot do. And then, for my second action, what I'm actually going to do is try and complete this delivery by here, which is a primary contract. Basically, if I can fulfill the requirements of this card, I'm going to get to put this next to my train, and I can only have one of these in front of my train at once. And that'll give me 4 points at the end of the game. Also worth noting is that if we do the secondary version of it as well by hitting these other requirements, we'll get even more points at the end of the game, depending which one we hit. So we'll either get 14 points for this one, or we'll get 12 points for this one here. So anyway, let's just get back on the game and make this delivery happen. Okay, so in order to make that delivery happen, first of all, we need to actually drop off the resources required by its primary objective by here. And so that's going to be 2 coal that we've got over here in our level 2 hopper. So that's going to get discarded. And then this is going to go in front of our train, adding 4 points to our engine's total. Okay, so I think by now you've kind of got a rough idea of how the game plays. So basically the idea is that, well, we're basically trying to get as many points as we can before that deck runs out. And when it does, we're going to take up our totals and compare it against tiers that's in the instruction manual. The game also comes with a campaign full of different scenarios, but I haven't tried any of them today. This is just the challenge mode. So let's get back to the table and I'll tell you about what I think. Okay, so now that we've seen how the game is played, it's time for me to tell you what I think. And first of all, I want to say that compared to the 2014 original version of this game, it just looks a lot better. There's a lot more work gone into the cards, and if this is how the prototype looks, I really can't wait to see what the final version of this game looks like. I think the dual use cards were a lot of fun. I really enjoy any game that uses dual use cards. It just saves space on the table, and it's always a good choice if you can get away with it. And in this case, the fact that you use the cards both as the resources to load and as parts of your engine is actually really interesting. I also like the way that the primary contracts and the secondary contracts work, allowing you to complete a secondary contract in order to be able to take another primary contract, and thus making the player feel even more powerful. Another thing I really liked is that in the solo mode, it let you use those powers that you would usually not be able to use unless you played on someone else's card in the multiplayer game. And I think this is a nice touch, as it really empowers the player. So overall, I think this is a really fun engine building game with an elegant and simple to operate solo mode. So with that said, I just want to say, if you like the look of what you've seen here, please feel free to check out the Kickstarter page for this game. It's live now. It's probably funded already. And if you've been enjoying the content, please feel free to smash that subscribe button up there and check out another one of my videos up here. Anyway, I've been Johnny. You've been watching the Hexy Beast. Thank you for watching, and most of all, stay Hexy, everyone.